The autumn sun filtered through the stained glass windows of Riverside Academy, casting rainbow patterns across the marble floors. Maya clutched her worn canvas bag closer as she walked through the grand entrance. Her second-hand uniform slightly faded compared to the pristine designer versions worn by her classmates. Look what the scholarship program dragged in, a voice dripped with honey-coated venom. Maya didn't need to turn around to recognize Victoria Ashford, whose family name adorned half the buildings in the city. Victoria stood at the center of the hallway like a queen holding court, her platinum blonde hair cascading over her shoulders. Designer shoes clicking against the floor with each calculated step. Her entourage of equally polished girls flanked her sides, their matching smirks rehearsed to perfection. "Nice bag," Victoria continued, her perfectly manicured finger pointing at Maya's backpack. "Is that vintage or just old?" Laughter erupted around them. Maya felt heat rise to her cheeks but kept walking, her head held high despite the storm brewing inside her chest. She'd learned that silence was sometimes the strongest response, but Victoria wasn't finished. She never was. For weeks, the torment continued. Victoria would accidentally spill her imported sparkling water on Maya's homework. She'd whisper cruel comments during class presentations, loud enough for others to hear but soft enough to avoid teacher detection. She'd post subtle social media stories featuring Maya in the background with mocking captions that never quite crossed the line into obvious bullying. The worst part wasn't the mockery itself. It was watching others join in, afraid that showing kindness to Maya might make them Victoria's next target. Even teachers seemed to turn a blind eye, reluctant to challenge the Ashford family whose donations kept the school's programs running. Maya's only refuge was the art room, where Mrs. Chen, the elderly art teacher, let students stay after hours. There, surrounded by canvases and paint-splattered easels, Maya could transform her pain into something beautiful. Her paintings spoke what her voice couldn't, each brushstroke a silent rebellion against the cruelty she faced daily. One evening, as Maya worked on a particularly ambitious piece depicting a phoenix rising from ashes rendered in shimmering golds and crimsons, Victoria appeared in the doorway. Her usual entourage was absent, and something in her expression seemed different. Softer somehow, though her words remained sharp. "Still wasting time on your little hobby," Victoria said, though her voice lacked its typical edge. She moved closer, studying the canvas with unexpected interest. "My mother wants to commission something for our spring gala. Mrs. Chen suggested you." Maya's brush paused mid-stroke. "Why would your family want anything from me?" "Don't let it go to your head," Victoria snapped, her mask sliding back into place. "Mrs. Chen says you're talented." "My mother values talent, even if it comes from unexpected places." She placed an embossed card on the table. "The details are here. The payment is generous. Think of it as charity." As Victoria's heels clicked away down the empty hallway, Maya stared at the card, emotions swirling inside her. Pride warred with practical need. Her mother worked 2 jobs just to keep them afloat, and the payment listed could cover 3 months of their rent. She took the commission. The weeks that followed were transformative. Maya poured everything into the piece, a massive canvas depicting a garden where flowers of impossible colors bloomed beneath a twilight sky. Each petal represented a different form of resilience, each shade a story of survival. She worked until her fingers cramped and her eyes burned, determined to create something undeniable. The night of the Ashford Gala arrived with all its expected glamour. Crystal chandeliers illuminated the mansion's ballroom, where women in couture gowns and men in tailored tuxedos sipped champagne worth more than Maya's monthly groceries. Maya stood uncomfortably in her best dress, borrowed from a cousin, feeling like an imposter in this world of excess. When Victoria's mother, Diane Ashford, unveiled the painting, silence fell over the room. The artwork commanded attention, its beauty impossible to ignore. Murmurs of appreciation rippled through the crowd. Gallery owners exchanged glances. Critics pulled out their phones to capture the piece. "The artist is here tonight," Diane announced, her smile radiant. Maya Rodriguez, a remarkably talented young woman studying at Riverside Academy. Applause erupted. Maya felt dozens of eyes turn toward her, some curious, others surprised. But the gaze that mattered most was Victoria's, whose expression had transformed from shock to something Maya couldn't quite read. As the evening progressed, Maya found herself surrounded by people wanting to discuss her work, offering opportunities and connections. A gallery owner pressed his card into her hand. A collector asked about future pieces. An art school recruiter mentioned scholarship programs. Through it all, Victoria watched from a distance, her champagne glass trembling slightly in her hand. Later, as guests mingled in the garden, Victoria approached Maya beneath a canopy of fairy lights that turned the night magical. "Congratulations," Victoria said, the word clearly difficult to form. "Everyone's impressed." Maya studied her tormentor's face, seeing past the perfect makeup to the uncertainty beneath. "Thank you." Victoria stopped, struggling. "I need to tell you something. Can we talk?" Privately, they walked to a secluded corner of the garden, where roses bloomed impossibly red against the darkness. Victoria's composure cracked, tears threatening to spill from eyes that Maya had only ever seen filled with contempt. "I've been horrible to you," Victoria whispered. "Unforgivably cruel." "Yes, you have," Maya said simply, refusing to offer easy comfort. "My father left us last year," Victoria continued, words tumbling out like a confession long held. "Everyone thinks we're perfect, but our fortune is crumbling. My mother puts on this show, hosts these galas, maintains appearances, but we're drowning in debt and pretending everything's fine. When you arrived on scholarship, genuinely earning what I had simply been given, something in me broke. You represented everything I was afraid of, becoming someone who had to actually work for their place in the world." Maya listened, her anger softening into understanding, though not yet forgiveness. "I took out my fear on you," Victoria admitted. "I made you suffer because I was terrified of my own fall from grace. Watching you tonight, seeing people genuinely appreciate your talent rather than your name, I realized something. You have something I've never had: real value that comes from within. Not from a family legacy that's turning out to be built on sand." "That doesn't excuse what you did," Maya said firmly. "No, it doesn't," Victoria agreed. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for the chance to do better, to be better." Maya looked up at the stars, thinking of her mother's words about how pressure creates diamonds. "Kindness isn't weakness, Victoria. Real strength is choosing compassion even when the world makes cruelty easier." "Teach me," Victoria said, her voice breaking. "Please. I don't know how to be that person, but I want to learn." In that moment, beneath a sky full of stars, something shifted. Maya saw Victoria not as the enemy who'd made her life miserable, but as another girl trapped by circumstances, fighting battles hidden beneath designer clothes and practiced smiles. "Apologize to the others you've hurt," Maya said. "Not just me. Everyone you've made feel small. Then maybe we can start fresh." Victoria nodded, tears finally spilling over. "Thank you for this chance. For your grace." The following Monday, the school watched in astonishment as Victoria Ashford stood before the student assembly and publicly apologized for her behavior, acknowledging the pain she'd caused and committing to change. Some rolled their eyes, skeptical of her sincerity. Others whispered in shock. But Maya saw the trembling in Victoria's hands, the genuine remorse in her eyes, and recognized the courage it took to humble yourself before those you'd wronged. In the weeks that followed, transformation bloomed. Victoria became an unexpected ally, using her influence to shut down gossip and bullying rather than perpetuate it. She and Maya formed an unlikely friendship, one built on hard truths and harder-won respect. Victoria began volunteering, discovering purpose beyond maintaining appearances. Maya's art career flourished. The gallery show led to more opportunities, scholarships, and eventually, a prestigious university acceptance with full funding. But more valuable than any accolade was the lesson both girls had learned. Victoria discovered that true worth comes from character, not circumstance. Maya learned that extending grace to those who've hurt you doesn't make you weak, it makes you powerful in ways cruelty never can. At graduation, as they stood together in their caps and gowns, Victoria handed Maya a small wrapped box. Inside was a silver bracelet engraved with words that would guide them both forward. "Kindness is the greatest strength." "Thank you," Victoria said, "for showing me who I could become." Maya smiled, thinking of how far they'd both traveled. "Thank you for choosing to become her." The sun set over Riverside Academy, casting long shadows across the grounds where two girls had once been enemies. But as they walked toward their futures, they walked as friends, living proof that even the deepest wounds can heal when met with courage, honesty, and the transformative power of genuine kindness. Their story became legend at Riverside, whispered to new students as a reminder that everyone fights battles we cannot see, and that choosing compassion over cruelty can change not just one life, but many. Because sometimes the bully who picks the wrong person isn't destroyed by revenge, they're transformed by grace. And that transformation radiates outward, touching lives in ways revenge never could. Creating ripples of kindness in a world that desperately needs them.